Welcome back, thank you for joining me, and today I have a problem. 2006 Volvo V50. This was recorded last winter, previous year of 2021, and the problem is that when it's cold, when you start the engine, there is a sound noise coming from the starter. It only happens in the winter when the engine is cold. Summertime there is no noise. Let's hear that. Now let's hear how it sounds from inside. Anyway, I have decided to rebuild the starter and I ordered those two parts from eBay. Total cost 114 Canadian dollars. Not much, so I'm gonna wait for summertime to get this repair done. So here's summer of 2021 and the parts have arrived, of course. Original BOSCH parts, you can see all the numbers and all the information will be in the description below. BOSCH made in Hungary. I will replace those two parts with the hope that the noise will go away in the next winter of 2022. So let's get to it and let's begin the disassemble. So this is a T5 turbocharged 5-cylinder inline engine with all-wheel drive. The vehicle is 2006. So in the winter time the vehicle had 29,000 kilometers. Now it's summertime, it has, let's take a look, I think 37 or 38. Yeah, so 37,000 kilometers. Let's begin. Two bolts holding this air duct, and actually this air duct always removed when you do the engine oil filter. Remove the battery cover, and we must disconnect the battery before doing any work on the starter to make sure I don't short anything. Next is this spider vacuum hoses. Just follow along, it disconnects really easy and it's easy to put back everything in position because it's hard to mess up, you know, it's hard to mismatch the connections here. This is how it looks. The turbocharger pipe, loosen the clamps, just use a screwdriver or a 7mm socket to loosen both clamps on each end. And there is two bolts that hold the pipe in position to the engine, one and one more on the other side. You'll see it a bit later. The bolts are removed. Now we can carefully detach it from the clamps. The next step is probably unnecessary, but I still did it. Disconnected the muff sensor, unscrewed using Torx 25 two screws, and removed the muff sensor from the airbox. This way it makes the box a little bit smaller. Now remove this cover where the engine ECM computer lives and disconnect the two big connectors. It's pretty intuitive, just pull on the red tab and it just disconnects very easy. There is two big connectors there. Next there is a Torx 30 screw down at the bottom that holds something. Now the tricky part is to remove the airbox from the engine. You want to slide it to the right towards the driver's side and it will, with some patience, it will go out. Now we can take a closer look. Here are the two connectors to the engine ECM made by BOSCH. There is 1, 2, 3 and 4 pins that correspond to the engine bay. This is where the airbox sits. I'll show you later on the engine itself. At the bottom there is this groove right here, which I'm pointing right now, and this plastic tab broke off. So because I didn't know, it was pretty hard to disconnect this round thing from the groove, and I had to cut another zip tie over here, and this is where the plastic broke off. So this was pretty tricky to disconnect it from the airbox. These are the holes that are corresponding, 1, 2, 3 and 4. This is how the airbox sits in place. Now we can see the starter and we can see the thermostat just above it. Let's continue here. Remove this protective cap from the positive cable and 13mm socket. Now probably another hard thing is a 13mm 2 nuts that hold the bracket to the starter. So you have to remove those 2 nuts, remove the bracket to get access to the bolts that hold the starter in position. So I'll show you in a minute. 1 nut is out, 1 more to go. The coolant hoses are in the way, which makes it so much more difficult. And this is the second nut that I'm removing. And you can see now the bracket with the rubber grommet is moving. So there you go. Once the bracket is out of the way, we can see the 2 bolts that hold the starter in position. And finally we can pull the starter out, and then I realized there is another wire that's connected to the back of it, which is the negative lead. And instead of I tried to pull on it and I was afraid to tear the wire, just unscrew the nut and it's gonna make it much easier right here. So there you go, finally the starter is out, and I'm gonna give you a big picture here of how it looks. This is where the starter lives. Just a quick inspection of what it looks like in here. Looks everything okay. And here are the parts that are out of the vehicle. Not much, but still takes quite a bit of time. So let's take a look at the starter itself, made by BOSCH. We can see the part number, 12 volts, made in Hungary. And even the date and time are stamped 2006. We're gonna replace both of these parts and hope for the best. Let's begin the disassembly. I've never rebuilt a starter before. 2 long bolts using 7mm socket, pull them out. Time to remove the solenoid, which is held by 3 Torx screws. 2 of them came out easily and 1 of them unfortunately stripped. And I did rush and extracted it myself, and I used a drill to drill it out, and unfortunately I've damaged it, so I'm gonna just reuse and secure it with 2 bolts, and the third one I will silicone, and I don't think it's gonna create any future problems. I should have just gave it to my father-in-law to carefully extract it and find a new bolt. Anyway, let's continue the disassembly here. Now this part I had some trouble removing this bearing O-ring which is holding the freewheel bendix, which I need to replace. Eventually I gave up. I've used a screwdriver and I've hammered it with no luck. So be careful when you're removing it. My father-in-law was able to remove it. I did inspect the motor here and the brushes. They're in very good condition. The car has low mileage. Everything was cleaned before reassembly.
Он только в одну сторону пойдет, поэтому.
Подожди, вот это же было вот тут. Вот
Нет.
это вот тут.
А, да, наоборот. Это, по-моему, шло у нас вот так.
Все равно вкусно.
Вот эти.
Next I'm gonna use some fresh grease to repack the
Хорош.
mechanism here.
Заклинит там. Раскидает его, и он его не будет там. Смотри, тут какие-то отверстия. Это точно правильно поставил?
As you notice, the new Bendix freewheel is in place. Another O-ring here that's holding everything together. Just using some pliers to push it in to position.
Нормально, давай. Давай. О, все. Окей.
Знаешь, мы можем это... Давай я вот так сделаю, чтобы ты не наклонил, да? Угу.
Допустим так, да? Допустим.
У тебя вот этот контакт был на каком-то из болтов,
Да.
да? На каком? На большом или на маленьком?
Вот это откуда-то выпало. Да. Я не знаю, откуда оно выпало. Это когда я... Сразу не проверишь же его.
Next I'm gonna show you how the solenoid is now held only using two bolts. The third hole is being sealed with some silicone. Hopefully it will not cause any issues and I don't think it will be a problem in the future. Time to reinstall the starter back onto the engine.
Этот конкретно большой дек.
Everything is now gonna be going in reverse order.
А что, какие-то болты есть? Или он так клэц и все?
Now I'm gonna tighten the two bolts that hold the starter in its place. Reconnecting all the wires in reverse order.
Да.
There is two
Короче,
positive
тут
ones
один
and one negative.
на батарею, а один от альтернатора.
Also reinstalling the protective cap, which I didn't film here. Next is the bracket, which is held by two nuts, and this is a very troublesome place. There is not enough room because of the coolant hose, so that was a bit difficult. Two torque screws also back in. And just for reference, here is the part number for the engine ECU made by Bosch. And the tricky part again is to reinstall the air box. Now just guide it and push it in. Reconnecting the two big connectors.
Тоже болты, да? Соединили.
Это в трубу идет. А это идет в турбину. Так, это было где-то болт должен быть. Да? Сразу видно.
Хорошо, что я заканчиваю. Смотри.
Честно?
And the moment of truth. I was really worried after taking apart the starter. Is the car gonna start? That was my first worry. Never mind the noise, if it's gonna be back in the winter time. We'll have to sit and wait. So everything back into its place, reconnecting the battery, and this is gonna be the first start. And yes, the car started. Was really relieved to hear that. Now we're gonna wait for the winter to come. So here we are, winter of 2022. I left the V50 outside overnight. This is an early morning. Temperature outside minus 13 degrees Celsius. The car has almost 45,000 kilometers. And let's hear the result. Unfortunately, the rebuild did not help. Let me know in the comments below if I need a new starter or it's something else. All this work for nothing, but what can I do? I hope that this video will still be helpful to someone. Thank you for watching, like it, subscribe to my channel and don't forget the notification, and I'll see you next time guys. Bye bye.